Today I want to talk about managing hunger and cravings, because being hungry and having cravings affect what we eat and also how much we eat. And it's something that I've noticed changing as I've got into my late 40s and early 50s, that I really can't cope with feeling hungry like I might have done when I was younger. So, as soon as I notice sort of a slightest hunger pang, I sort of feel this real urgent need to eat something. And when we're having, repeated episodes of feeling hungry, of having cravings that we can't resist, because that's usually what the problem is, then that can actually make us feel out of control with our eating and our diet. And if we're constantly eating, we are likely to be eating too many calories. And usually when we're craving things, we have to grab something quickly or wherever we are. And that means that a lot of those calories can come from foods that we know aren't really very good for us. Okay, so once you start to get into these sort of constant eating patterns, may affect your weight, likely to, but a natural reaction to try and do something about that is to try and eat less, okay? Which we know that's the sort of concept of going on a diet, to reduce calories, to eat less. Now, the problem here is that when you cut calories, that can actually leave us feeling hungrier. And if you're finding that it's very difficult to cope with feeling hungry and the extra cravings that feeling deprived actually brings up as well, then it's very easy then or only a matter of time before we end up going back to our old ways. Okay, so how do you break that cycle? What do you do? The key thing is to stop thinking about calories, and instead you need to think about eating in a way that keeps you feeling as full and as satisfied for as long as possible, okay? And in a nutshell, that means eating just 3 nutritious meals a day. And I think it's really useful sometimes to just sort of simplify what you're trying to do. And that's a very useful mantra to have, just eat 3 nutritious meals a day, because it's a very effective way to guide you to make the right choices. Now, what does that even mean? All right, so basically it means eating something that's quite specifically includes a good serving of protein. It can include other things, but the protein is really important because that has a massive impact on actually stabilising your appetite and keeping you feeling full for a longer period of time. So, for example, that might mean eating eggs for breakfast, or porridge can actually be quite a decent amount of protein. You can make that go further with adding nuts or protein powder. Having lunches and dinners that are made from vegetables, but that also include a decent serving size of meat, fish, eggs, or tofu, nuts, pulses if you don't eat animal products. You can eat carbohydrates, but you want to think about the sort of amount that you eat as like a pie chart, and you want to have a bigger proportion of protein and a smaller proportion of carbs. So you might have sort of a fist size, a palm size portion of protein, meat or tofu, and you might maybe have plenty of vegetables, some oil that makes it actually tasty, seasoning, and a smaller amount, a couple of tablespoons of rice or pasta or whatever it is that you prefer. Okay, that's going to give you a more balanced nutrition. You also want to have decent sized portions. So you want to eat plenty so that you feel really full after that and really satisfied. Not stuffed, but really full and satisfied. When you've been on sort of like a long-term diet and you snack, you can tend to get into this habit where you feel like you have to eat meager portions, either to allow you to snack or because you feel guilty about snacking. So you want to break out of that and start to have good sized meals that are going to leave you feeling full or satisfied because you've actually enjoyed them. That's really important. And when you do that, you're going to find that you don't feel hungry afterwards. And you can even get as far as going 4, 5 hours, even 6 sometimes, before you're ready to eat your next meal. That can make it much, much easier to resist the sort of sweets that lie around in offices, and cakes and the things that might be in the cupboard that are tempting, that you don't want to eat but you sort of can't resist. It makes it an awful lot easier to not eat those things. So when you have these 3 nutritious meals a day, you're going to stabilise your energy, you're going to make yourself feel fuller, less deprived because you're feeding yourself well, and it's going to mean that you don't need to eat in between meals as much, and that in itself is going to help to naturally bring the amount of calories down that you eat. The other huge benefit from this is that it can give you really good, consistent energy levels all day. And that can be a game changer if you're a busy woman and you've got a lot to do, with balancing work, family, you know what I mean. So makes a really big difference. What I find when I put clients onto this, they can notice the benefits of it straight away. So whilst going on a diet, you feel hungry straight away. It takes you weeks before you notice any weight loss. You just switch to these 3 nutritious meals a day, and that day you will notice having more energy. So that in itself is brilliant because you get a really quick reward for that effort that fires you motivational to keep doing it again. Okay, so that's my tips for managing hunger and cravings. If you want more information about that, including some example meal plans to give you more information, then you can find all that on my website, which is gabrielleohare.com. Okay, thank you for watching. I'll see you soon.